the second of two major oil drilling and production structures built for British Petroleum's Forties field at the Nig Yard of Highland's fabricators. This is the story of the lessons learnt during the construction of Highland 1 and how these were put to good use in floating Highland 2 out into the North Sea 7 weeks ahead of schedule. On behalf of BP, who had commissioned the structure, Dr. J. Burks, the director of BP Trading Limited, paid tribute to those who had built it.
When I speak of a delighted plant, I must refer particularly to the men who built this structure. 5 months ago, we didn't think there was a hope of getting this structure built for a float out before August. You men have done a fantastic job, and anyone who says that British industry is not capable of responding to encouragement and producing tremendous productivity have only to look at the work you men have done, particularly in the last 4 months.
By February 1975, work on this, the second of BP's North Sea platforms, had been underway for 5 weeks. Already it was becoming evident that steadily improving productivity from the site-trained workforce augured well for the rapid construction of the 20,000-ton jacket. A new method of bringing the intricate three-dimensional jigsaw together was to be a major factor in the rapid erection of Highland 2. Instead of using the accepted method of fabricating such a huge structure, that is by rolling up the outer frames and then inserting the drilling conductor panels, Highland's fabricators engineers, with the experience gained from Highland 1, evolved a new system of erection. This new technique afforded the crawler cranes a much greater ability to erect the interior brace members. The frames were simply erected in a toast rack configuration onto the 2 bottom legs. Another innovation, catwalks welded temporarily to sections before lifting. This reduced the amount of scaffolding required on the structure. By the end of March, the 600-ton -262 conductor panel was ready for lifting into position, and this is no simple operation. The engineers have done their pre-planning for the lift. Now all the skills of the crane operators and lift controllers are needed. The huge panel is first lifted from one end. And when sufficient height has been gained, the crawler cranes move forward inch by inch, rolling up the panel to a vertical position, ready for the final lift into the jacket structure. Over on the yard's quayside, one of the 4 950-ton pile clusters is being manoeuvred to the offloading point. Because of the tight delivery dates expected by BP, the clusters were built in Europe and floated across the North Sea on barges. Once alongside, deballasting starts. A delicate operation this, and that weight must be in the right place at the right time. There's almost 1,000 tons there. The crawler traction units are fixed to the giant cluster, and as they bring it ashore, ballasting of the barge continues, helping to compensate for the shifting load. The crawlers will carry the cluster the half-mile journey to the dock floor in the next 2 days. It's now the second week of April, and the jacket is becoming a more complex-looking structure, with work forging ahead at an ever-increasing pace. Thanks to good industrial relations and mild weather, it is more than half finished. On the dock floor, fabrication of the second major conductor panel, the -330, has been completed. While welders continue their work round the clock, riggers are preparing for the lift of the 330 panel. Cranes have been tuned, their cables checked and drums rewound. A cable slip with these heavy loads could mean disaster. No fewer than 8 cranes are being used on this lift. Their accurate positioning will prevent any unacceptable distortion to the massive panel during the prolonged lift. The cranes now begin to lift the 330 section clear of the blocks on which it rests. Checking that all is well, the lift controller scans the area beneath the panel. The cranes have now taken the load, ready to move the 330 150 feet across the dock floor to its roll-up position near the jacket. To support the heavy centre of the panel during the movement towards the jacket, a bogie is placed beneath the centre section. 640 tons is lowered gently onto the bogie. Safety officers keep a watchful eye on the whole operation. Now the crawler cranes start to carry the 330 clear of the dock gate. It measures 230 feet by 140 feet. It's 640 tons now equally distributed among the cranes. From the cabin of the gantry crane high above the dock floor, we get some idea of the size of this section. This will eventually lie parallel with the seabed, 330 feet beneath the surface of the North Sea. This type of operation calls for tremendous concentration from the crane drivers. With the section safely in its new position, teams of welders start to weld on ladders, which will permit easy access onto the structure at a later stage. Riggers now start to reposition the lifting slings, ready for the roll-up. It is into this position in the jacket that the 330 panel will be lifted. It will mean a vertical lift of 50 feet. Then the cranes will carry their load forward 100 feet onto this centering point above the flotation tanks. With the cranes now repositioned and re-rigging completed, the roll-up can start. The terrific crane muscle available in the high fab yard now comes into its own. Slowly, the great section rises. A tense moment for the engineers who have planned the operation. Their nerves, no doubt, as taut as the crane cables. With the lift going well, the cranes now move forward towards the jacket, rolling up the panel. From fixed observation positions around the dock, engineers monitor every phase of the operation. By the end of the day, the panel nears the final roll-up position. On the jacket, work goes on into the night.
Are you ready, big guy?
The vertical lift is about to start.
Got you, little guy. Both quiet, raise your load. Both quiet, raise your load.
Radio communication between the crane operators and the controllers is now vital.
Both quiet, travel northeast. Both quiet, travel northeast. Julian, Hamish. Hamish, will you really would help any if you swung that little flat back to the left just a touch? We'll go about 4 foot to go over GR2. We're helping a little, but don't mind. There ain't no way in hell we're going to be able to drag this thing 4 feet over this way.
No way in hell, the man said. And despite heavy snow during the night, when morning came, they had found a way. And a new dimension had been acquired by the now rapidly expanding jacket with the 330 safely in place. This upper leg assembly, which includes pile guides, has now to be lifted into the jacket. It presents its own positioning problems. These are resolved in theory on the drawing board long before the lift starts, but the ultimate success depends on the men in the cranes and on the jacket.
right, almost out, very slowly.
Willie MacDonald's view from the cabin of the 275-ton lift gantry crane, Little Wolf.
Swing slowly towards the jacket.
The section nears its final position. The very precise accuracy of the docking operation now becomes evident as the leg sections come together. We are now in the second week of May, and the work of installing the 32 drill bit conductor tubes into the 6 conductor frames is well ahead of time. This is a major feature of the jacket's construction. Many Took self-propelled cranes draw more of the 250-foot-long node and cross members into the dock area for fabrication into the final sections. They are transported on the 72-wheeled bogies, which are capable of carrying a load of 300 tons. Productivity at the yard is now running at a very high rate. The lower leg and pile cluster supports are now being hoisted into their positions. May the 21st, and the heaviest lift of them all is being prepared. Aligning guides are welded to each crane to help in positioning during the vital stages of the lift. Engineers are at their monitor positions checking every detail. The pile cluster, which weighs 950 tons, will be raised 250 feet from the dock floor, then carried 100 feet onto its supports on the jacket. With the supporting cradle removed from beneath the cluster and the cranes safely holding the weight, the dock floor is made firm and level.
Both class, raise your load. Both class, raise your load.
Nothing can be left to chance with a weight of this magnitude.
Travel north easy, big class. Travel north easy, big class.
Slowly, the cranes move with their load towards the jacket. Weeks of planning by Highland's Fabricators engineers is paying off. All is going well. With even the biggest lift at the Nig Bay yard, there's usually spare capacity available. The 2 Clyde gantry cranes between them can manage over 800 tons, and in support are 12 crawler cranes, each with lifting capacities of between 150 and 300 tons. Riggers stand by in the docking position. It's in the building and putting together of these giant structures that Highland's fabricators are really in the top league anywhere in the world. Few others have the facilities, the skilled labour force and strict quality control of the 170-acre Nig Bay yard, with its strategic position in relation to the North Sea oil fields. Even working at these great heights, towards the end of the fabrication of this jacket, assemblies of this size were coming together well within the tolerances laid down in the client's specifications. Only inches to go now. It's going to be a perfect docking and another boost to the high morale of the workforce. On May the 29th, the early morning view across the Firth from Cromarty revealed a structure similar to Highland 1. The target now was an early float-out. Leaders of the American petroleum industry visit the yard and are amazed at the speed of construction. Their host was Sir Philip Southwell, chairman of Highland's Fabricators. Scaffolders now prepare the first of the two 550-ton stabilizer spheres for lifting. These are welded to the jacket to aid the sophisticated process of sinking during the emplacement on the 40s field. With the 54-feet diameter sphere accurately positioned between the two gantry cranes, the lift gets underway. The load indicators are checked constantly. From the dock floor, the sphere is being raised 250 feet to the docking position on the jacket. The sphere, now at 250 feet, is swung over towards the jacket. Docking is now almost complete. In operations like this, cranemen, riggers, fabricators and welders all have their part to play in the successful completion of the lift. And for the lift controllers, it's all in a day's work. June the 12th. Winch operators and riggers coordinate the pull-through of the top pin piles. These piles were constructed in Highland's Fabricators' own pipe rolling mill, and like the structure itself, had to undergo the most rigorous quality control checks. 10,000 tons of steel were used in the construction of the 40 piles rolled and welded in the pipe mill. Independent outside contractors, directly responsible to our clients, subjected all nodes and welds in the jacket to X-ray, ultrasonic and magnetic particle inspection throughout the construction. With the last pin pile through, the jacket is completed. A record-breaking 156 days of cooperative effort between men and management. June the 21st. Workers with their wives and families mingle with guests from far and wide who are here to watch Mrs. Margaret Linning, the wife of BP's offshore general manager, christen the jacket. Sir Philip Southwell and Managing Director Mr. Kevin Barry escort her to the rostrum.
I name this structure Highland 2. Good luck to her and all who work on her.
On the 23rd, orders to flood the dock are received. The inrush of water is carefully controlled. After 17 hours, the jacket is floating, and the flotation tanks are in perfect condition. June the 26th. Bad weather has delayed the float-out for a week, but now, with a good forecast, the decision to remove the world's largest dock gate and prepare for float-out has been taken. The water ballast is jettisoned to allow the 16,000-ton gate to float. The winches are rigged in readiness to pull the gate clear of the entrance to the dock. The gate has now risen, and the winches start to pull it out into the Firth. In the fading light, Highland 2 waits for the moment of departure. At dawn, the dock is open to the sea, and the way clear for float-out. But it was near midnight before the order came.
4 and 5, give
In the
us 10,
darkness, float-out begins.
on 6, give us 15, 10. Captain Westing, do Mackay, Captain Westing. Could you start to pull on it now? Captain, start to pull on it now. Just start to pull on it now, over. Okay. All winches, keep your hold
Movement
to
out
sea.
of the dock is slow and deliberate. There's little room to spare at the dock entrance.
Drifting slightly west. Nothing to worry about this show. Could we have a little more power? A little more power on the tank. Please. Okay.
That explosion severed the last holding cable. Now the dock lies empty, and the tugs manoeuvre in the Firth. By 5:30 a.m., Highland 2 heads towards British Petroleum's Forties Field, and a satisfied customer signals thanks to the team at Highland's Fabricators for another major contract successfully completed ahead of schedule.